¿Cómo se llama?
Antonio.
Tony SLUMZ.
Hey Google, turn on studio. What up, what up, what up? Tony SLUMZ. Let's multitask. So, today there was a topic on the timeline about 10,000 hours. And for some weird reason, it's something that's actually been coming up in my mind lately. It's, where am I on my 10,000 hours? So, I actually did the math. Now, why 10,000 hours? Well, it basically says that in order for you to master a craft, you have to put in your 10,000 hours. Now, what I wanted to do was I wanted to actually figure out if I had already put in those 10,000 hours. Because it is something that you think about a lot, especially, I mean, if you've been doing music for a while. And by a while, I mean longer than just a season or a year or even fucking 4 years. You know what I mean? I started in 2003. Now, that doesn't mean that I was 1,000% in by the time I started in 2003. No, I was in high school. So like every other high schooler, I had life. I had jobs. I had girlfriends. I had school, of course. You know what I mean? So exactly when have I hit my 10,000 hours in producing? I'm only focusing on producing because I also rap, I also engineer, as well as other shit, you know? So I wanted just to focus on my production. So the way I break down majority of time is I break it down by weeks, especially if I'm looking at long time periods, you know what I mean? And the reason I do that, I don't know if it's the I don't know if it's the worker in me, but it's just easier for me to break down like 80 hours a week. That's typical work week, you know what I mean? So that's kind of the way I broke down my hours when I started breaking them down. So if I started in 03, and when I started first as a rapper, MCing, everything, just fully 100% MCing. So I didn't really start making beats till maybe a year later, so we'll say 04. So I think I went from 04 to 05, ending at 06. So about 2 years, I said when I started my first production, FL Studio, Fruity Loops 4 at the time. That's when it was down. That was, we're breaking down 52 weeks. I did between work, because I was working at McDonald's at the time, and girlfriends and family obligations and things like that, I spent about 7 hours a week, which comes out to the two years, 104 weeks, 7 times 7 hours a week. That came out to about 128 hours in my first 2 years. Holy shit, just focusing on production. Now, from 06 to 07, I was in boot camp. Your boy joined the military fresh out of high school because college was expensive and I couldn't afford that shit. Alright? So, I did a lot of focus on my writing, working as my sound as an MC, things like that. So it wasn't wasted in terms of music, but it wasn't production. So starting 07 to 08, that's when I got out of boot camp and I actually ended up going to Iraq. Now, my time in Iraq was a lot different than other people's. I was actually pretty chill, So I had 1 year in Iraq, and we had like trailers there, and I had my first laptop. I remember it was an HP, and I think I had like FL11 at the time or something. That was around 07, 08. So I put in about 2 to 4 hours a day. So it comes out to 12 hours a week. At 52 weeks, 624 hours was spent around that. 52 times. Yep, was when I spent right there in while I was in Iraq. So that's really what I started developing my production sound and things like that, and learning FL Studio and how I chopped up my samples and things like that. Came back, and then I ended up moving to Washington from 08 to 09. Actually, no, 08 to 10, 2010. This is when I focused on writing, engineering, and a little bit of dabbling in production. But again, I was still in the Army at the time. I was in Washington. I was working crazy shifts. So during that time, I probably was able to work on music only 6 hours a week. So again, 6 hours times 104 for the 2 years. That came out to 624 hours during that time. Oh shit. Now, when I got back, let me see my notes. From 2011 to 2015. Now, granted, at this time I was already present here. Now, from 2011 to 2015, I was cooking in the kitchen. So I was doing a lot of engineering, still developing my sound, but we were still going through like SoundClick beats, YouTube beats. This is when I got a little bit more, I really wanted to develop my sound as a producer though. So I started taking things a lot more serious. I started like demanding people to rap on my beats as opposed to just using me as an engineer. So I will say around that time, so 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, about 4 years. I was doing about 15 hours a week. I was unemployed, but I was going to school. Well, I wasn't unemployed, I was underemployed. I didn't really care about the job too much. I think I was working at Staples and shit. And I was going to school as well too. And you know, just living life. So yeah, that was about, so I was 208 weeks, about 15 hours a week. That comes out to about 3,120 hours. Okay, so that was, I did a lot of it. Now, after 2015, that's when I moved in with, that's when me and Karina started living together. And suffice to say, living with Karina actually made me focus more on my production. I was able to be a lot more selfish. Living with Karina actually pushed me more towards production. I was able to be selfish. I was able to just focus on what it is that I wanted to do at the time, which was production. I just wanted to work on beats. So that's kind of where I started like really honing my sound, focusing entirely on what it is that I wanted to do at the time. I stopped editing videos. I started charging people for my time. So it wasn't, I wasn't getting a lot of free, I wasn't giving away a lot of free sessions. So during that time, I was easily putting in, well, now up until fairly recently, I've been putting about 20 hours a week on production, focusing on production, fully focusing on production. Unfortunately, with that also came the admin side of it because I started taking it more as a business, which can be a bit of a buzzkill when you're really thinking about it, but it is what it is. You can't have one without the other. That's kind of why I'm giving myself 20 hours a week. I'm shorting everything as much as I possibly can. So that's 260 weeks at 20 hours a week. That comes out to 5,200 hours during this last time. Now, adding everything up, how close am I to my 10,000 hours in production? I am at 9,696 hours solely on production, which is cool because I don't think I've mastered it yet, and the math supports that I have not mastered, at least by the standards that are placed by people saying you gotta put in your 10,000 hours. So I'm curious, have you ever took the time to see where you at on your 10,000 hours in your respective field and the thing you love and the passion and things you're passionate about? Let me know. See if you can give me a breakdown. Put it on the comments. Just give me an hour. If you already hit your 10,000 hours, salute to you, man. I'm not there yet, which is cool. It's actually makes me puts a lot of things in perspective for me, man. You know, especially because I'm always doing 3 things at once. So I'm about to get started on this. Hopefully I didn't fuck up. I didn't break anything. Hopefully I didn't break anything. But yeah, man, thank y'all. Like, subscribe, and all that other good stuff.